And I'll share my screen. Okay. So I think this is where we are up to, which is Ger and Karunatilaka, Lesson 11, Initial Readings, Reading number 2, Alavaka Sutang. And this sutta occurs in 2 places, as far as I know, maybe more, but at least 2 places in the Pali Canon. One is in the beginning of the Sutta Nipata, and one is in that first division of the Samyutta Nikaya, which is called the Sagata Samyutta, the Samyutta with verses, and yakas or yakshas have their own special section, the 10th section. And so this sutta is found there as well. And it's about a yaka or a yaksha named Alavaka. I don't know very much about yakshas, except they're sort of monsters that can be dangerous. I've never met one. If anyone is here has met one, please raise your hand. If not, we'll have to use our imagination. Okay, so we start, of course, with Evang Me Sutang, and I thought I would put a quick reference here to our book, page 88, just for the sense of precision, because on that page it explains this this sentence very clearly in the section called Past Participle Sentences with Instrumental Subjects. So we know that this is a passive construction, that the word sutang is a past participle of sunati. It means heard. So literally we read, thus by me heard. And it mentions that on this page in Ger, it says, if there is no direct object expressed, the participle will be in the neuter singular. Yeah, so that's what we find here. And then we have ekang samayang. This is our accusative of time. On one ekang occasion, samaya, the Blessed One, the Bhagavad, nominative. Viharati, this is our historical present, which is expressing an event in the past, was dwelling at Alavi. This would be the locative, I believe, because it's a I, short I noun. He was dwelling in Alavi, and he was also dwelling bhavane in the abode. I don't think it's a house, like some sort of dwelling place that yakshas live, maybe more like a cave. And then we have our 2 genitives, alavakasa yakasa, of the yaka alavaka. Of course, there's a backstory here of why, but we're not going to cover that today. You can research that on your own, what has led to this. Atako alavako yakko, so then the yaka alavaka, expressed in the nominative. And then we have our familiar kind of construction. Yena bhagava ten upasankame, having approached the Blessed One. This verb is expressed in the aorist. Then we have upasankamitva, our absolutive, having gone up to, having approached. He said this, etad avocha, so avocha, aorist, said this to the Blessed One, Bhagavantang, expressed in the accusative case. And it's here we have what he says. This is what the yaka says. And he says, Nikama samanata ti. So here, first of all, we can say that and this is our first grammatical point in this lesson, is that there is a form of the imperative that is expressed with this without the normal case, without the normal personal ending. This is called in our book the bare imperative. So nikama, I guess it would be also nikamahi, right? This would be the second person. Samana is in the vocative case, and so get out, ascetic, right? And get out. He's ordering the Blessed One, the Buddha, to get out. And the Buddha replies, Sadhavu soti bhagava nikami. So, sadhu, which literally means, I think literally it means sweet, but it just generally means good. And here it's used in the sense of very good, friend. Sure. Okay, the Blessed One said. And nikami is our aorist of nikamati, right? So this is the root here of this verb would be come, from kamati, or in Sanskrit it would be, I think, krum. And I think that's why we have the doubling, so nis kamati, to go out, and the I is the personal ending here. And so he goes out, he left, and then the Yakka says, Pavisa samanati, enter, or come back in, right? Another bare imperative. And the Buddha, very relaxed, says, very good, friend. And he went out again. So here the verb pavisi, another aorist, notice that this A is lengthened. And why is that? Can anyone tell us what's happening here? Probably why is this A longer or stronger?
I think it's because of the A augment in the
Right.
aorist. So it's pa plus the
Right.
augment.
So I think it would be pa plus the A augment plus that root vis. And so that would be strengthening. That's why we get this long A. Right. Okay. And then we have the same thing happen. Dutiang. So this is our ordinal number. It functions adverbally here. For a second time, the Yakka Alavako said this to the Buddha, the Blessed One. The same exact script happens again. And for a third time, he says the same occurrence. And then, I guess the game is over. Because for the fourth time, Chatuhang pi ko alaviko yako bhagavantang etadavocha. For a fourth time, he says, go out, get out. But then the Buddha answers differently finally. He says, na kvahang tang avuso nikamisami yante karaniyang tang karohiti. So here, kvahang is a sandhi of ko plus ahang. And we get this insertion of this V, and the A is strengthened or lengthened, right? So then the na is going here with the verb now expressed in the future first person. I will not leave. I will not go out, friend. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest, what this tongue is here, what it's expressing. I don't know if it's even translatable. I'm not quite sure. And then we have yante, which can be broken down into young plus te. So that which young, karaniyang, this is our gerundive or future passive participle of the verb karoti. So that would be that which should be done, or that which can be done, te, by you, tang karohi. So here the verb karoti expressed in the imperative. You do that, right? So the Buddha basically says, do what you want. Do your best. What do you think you should do? You should do it. And so what is the response? Well, the Yaka has a question, or a set of questions. So he says, Pan hang tang samana puchi sami. So panha plus ahang, right? And I think here the tongue would be tvang, the you, referring to the Buddha. So samana, of course, would be the vocative. Samana, I will ask you a question. And then he says, Sache me na vyakarisasi chittang va te kipisami hadayang va te palesami padesu va gahetva parangangaya kipisami. Not very friendly. And so sache is the word for if. We often see it just as the che. That would be inside a sentence, the so-called enclitic form. Here it begins a sentence, so we have the full form. So if you will not answer me, vyakarisasi, then what's going to happen if he doesn't answer this question? Kipisame chitang, right? Literally it says, I will throw your chitta, your mind. And we understand that the meaning here is that I will make you deranged, or I will drive you crazy, right? I think I wrote, I will upset your mind, something like that, right? And, or va, so this va is just simply, in the Pali way, reflected back. We don't translate it here. In English, it would occur before the hadayang, but in Pali it occurs, the va occurs one word later. So hadayang va, or I will split your heart, right? Or gahetva, having grabbed, or having taken a hold of padesu, your feet. And this is a usage of the locative which is covered in this chapter in section 5, which is called, they call it the locative of contact, used with a verb of seizing, grasping, etc. The locative may signify the point of contact. So having grasped you by the feet, Kipi Sami, I will throw you Parangangaya, across the Ganges River, which I would guess this is a feminine. I think it would probably be an ablative. So this is the big threat. And how does the Buddha respond? Is he scared? Is he running away? No. He gives this very dramatic answer, actually. Na kvahang tang avuso pasami sadevake loke samarake sabramake sasamana brahmaniya pajaya sadeva manusaya yo me chittang va. And we'll stop there for a second. So it says here, so ko ahang, I do not, definitely do not see, friend. And then we have loke, in this world. And then we have sadevake, with its devas. So sa here, this prefix sa, has the sense of with, sort of like saha, right? And notice that it's expressed in adjective form. This is how it's done in this sort of construction. With its devas in the world, with its devas, with Mara, with Brahma. And then we have another section, Pajaya, which could be taken, I think either, it seems to me it could be taken as either instrumental or another locative. With the population, or in the population, this is a feminine noun, Pajaya. And how do I have it? With the population, with its with ascetics and Brahmins, and with devas and people, that so then we have, and then this is a repeat. So he's not seeing anybody in the whole world, that which, and then we have the verb to throw expressed in the optative. That might be, or that could throw my chitta, or make me crazy, or could, now again expressed in the optative, could split my heart, or having taken me by the feet, could throw me, kipeya, across the Ganges river. So it's a very dramatic sentence, basically saying no one can do what you claim you can do. No one at all. Apicha, nevertheless, tvang avuso, you, friend, pucha, ask that which you desire, or with that which you want, right? And then we have this piece of narrative, Atako alavako yako bhagavantam gataya ajabasi. Then the yaka alavaka ajabasi, this is an aorist, addressed the Blessed One, gataya, with, or by means of verse. In English we would say with these verses. Yes. Can anyone explain for us what this aorist ajabasi is based on and how it got to be this form? What verb is that? Diane? I see your mic is open, so you must be eager to answer.
I didn't know it was open, but I have written down it comes from ajabasati.
Adibasati. Yeah.
Oh, so I've got that wrong.
Basati. Adibasati, to reply to. Of course, you can see that it's based on basati, to speak. The sense is that one speaks back to, replies to. But how does it get to this ajabasi thing? How does that happen?
I think it would have something to do with adding in the a augment, because
Yeah,
it added a d plus a.
it does add the a augment, and then yeah, and then this adi becomes uj. So that's how it happens. So when the adi is prefixed to a verb and it turns into the aorist, or it's formed in the aorist, it moves to this uj. It sort of assimilates. And that's how we get the aorist form, addressed past tense. Are there any questions on this bit that we've covered? No, not at all.
Just
Okay.
one, just one
Yes,
second.
please.
Yeah. So can it be that the person that you're addressing takes the accusative? So I do not say to you, so na kwahang tang abuso. That the person it's not the thing you're saying, but the person you're addressing that's in the accusative. Is that right? Or
Where are you in the text? I'm sorry.
so for example, so we've got two places, but so one of them is there na kwahang tang avuso.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
there, so the person you're addressing is in the accusative. I say, no, wait a second. Like the way I'm saying it, I say to you, is that I do, or I do not. You know what I mean? The or the further up one was not. So, or maybe I should like. Did you understand what I'm getting at? Or?
Not quite. Let's.
Yeah.
I think Sarah has something to add. Sarah.
Yes.
Well, I think you mentioned that in the n kwang tongue,
Yes.
you didn't really know what the tongue was there for. And I had that question too. And I think that's what you're asking too, right?
Yes.
So the way I interpreted erroneously, I know, is to use the na in two places and say, I do not, I think I wrote it. Let's see what I wrote.
But
the
you're
first
with
time.
the one with Nikamisami.
It comes in two places, Nikavangtang Avuso Nikamisami, and then later with when he saw
Yeah.
Hasami. But anyway, I think I wrote something like, indeed, I will not do that. I will not leave. So I doubled up my negative just to get the tongue in there. But I think what you're saying, Fierka, is could you say use the tongue as you addressing the.
It could be. Maybe this tongue here next to the avoso is like you, friend.
Right.
It could be. That could be a good answer.
That would make more sense.
That makes sort as opposed to a direct object of the verb.
Right.
Because it doesn't seem like we need a direct object here, right? I will not go out. I will certainly not go out, you friend.
Mm-hmm.
But or friend, I will certainly not go out. Maybe. I'm not quite sure what this tongue is doing here. Catherine?
Yeah, can it be just anyone? Anything or anyone?
How would you make that into a sentence?
The tongue, that means instead of you, which is the tongue usually maybe referring to you, but here I thought maybe it's just anything or anyone. That's why indeed I do not see anyone, friend.
Yeah, but how would you translate that in this sentence that we're looking at with Nikamisami?
Indeed, I do not see anyone, friend, in this world. Can it be?
Well, I'm looking at it. I think we're looking at different sentences.
Oh, another paragraph. Let me see.
I'm looking at the sentence after the fourth time. The response from the Buddha is na kvahang tang avuso nikamisami.
Do whatever you have to do. Indeed, I will not leave. That one is it. Indeed, I will not leave, friend.
Yeah.
Do whatever you have to do. This paragraph, right?
Yes.
Oh,
I have one more thought, which is because I think we saw that recently where the first person pronoun was kind of emphasized by a third person pronoun.
Yeah.
I think Bhikkhu Bodhi mentioned that. And so maybe here it's just emphasizing the I, like I will not leave. So it's putting possibly an emphasis on the pronoun I. Just a thought.
So you're saying the ahang and the tam are one and the same thing?
Yeah, just because I think we encountered that in
Oh, I
the other
see.
class
That
where,
right. It
yeah,
could be. That is true that often we'll see the subject expressed both as a first person and a third person. So it could be sort of strengthening or giving, doubling the meaning of the ahang. I see that Bhikkhu Bodhi translates this sentence simply as, I won't go out, friend. Right? So there's no object of the verb. So I think maybe Sarah's explanation could be right. Ahang tang, I won't go out. I just don't really know, as I said. Anyway, but I think we understand the meaning of this. Right? I won't go out. And here, this tongue, as Catherine said, is much more clear. Do that what you want, right? Do it. But in this one, not so clear to me. And here, of course, this tongue is the object of Puchisami. I will ask you that. Or no, this one is the tvang. I will. But it could be, if we go with Sarah's theory, that this tongue, it's going with the ahang. It's not clear. Sometimes I have to say, sometimes these pronouns are a little indefinite to translate into English, although the sense of it always seems clear. But maybe we should go on. Would somebody like to do the first set of the 4 questions?
I'll try that.
Okay.
King Suta Vitang Purisasa Setang King Su Suchinang Sukama Wahati King Su Have Sadutarang Rasanang Katang Jivang Jivitamahu Setang.
Okay.
I've got King Suda is what indeed here. Vitang is like wealth or property, and Purisasa is for a person, and Setang is best. So what here is the best treasure? Completely lost my notes. King Su Suchinang Sukha Mawahati, what well-practiced Suchinang.
Where's Suchinang? I don't see. Oh, I see. Suchinang. Yes. Right. The third word. Yes.
I really wish I could find my notes.
Well, let me just review the first sentence while you look. Okay, so su is this emphatic particle, which I think is pretty uncommon. I think it comes straight from Vedic Sanskrit. So what indeed ida here, and then we have an implied verb is, and then we have a possession, the best possession for a person, right? Vitang would be nominative neuter. Setang would be the adjective describing it, best, and then of a person, purisasa. So what is a person's greatest possession here? And the second sentence, we have suchinang, and chinang is the past participle of the verb charity, which is to go. And when it's put together with the su, it means, literally it has the sense of well traveled, but the meaning is practiced.
Yes.
Right? Just sort of like we're studying Pali, we're going over this many times. And sukang plus avahati, and we know that, I think our footnote in the book told us that this last A is strengthened simply for the meter. So avahati means to bring. So the question is, what well practiced brings happiness.
And then Kingsu have sadutaram rasanam. Have is truly. So what truly is the sadutaram, the sweetest of flavors, rasanam.
Yes.
Katang jivitamahu setang. The ahu in the middle of the last phrase is they said. So either what living or how living is the best life or livelihood, do they say?
Yeah. Right. So the third sentence has these two emphatic particles, probably to make the meter work. I think this is an 11 count meter. So sadhu, again, is good. We had this earlier in the reading. Tara is our I think it's called superlative suffix. This is, in the book, there's a misprint because grammar section 6 is repeated twice, but this should be grammar section 7, right? And Tara is so sweetest, and rasanang, of flavors, genitive plural. And then we have the question, and how? And so we have the compound jivitang, which is life. It's a neuter noun, and it's being described with, I think, two adjectives, both matching with the neuter, jiving, which is literally means living, and again, setang, which is the best. And so literally, I find this an awkward sentence or difficult sentence to translate to capture the full sense. But literally, I think it means how living a life, ahu, they say, is best. But how living a life, they say, is best doesn't really make great sense in English. So it has to be more like, how does one live the life that is said to be the best? Or how does one live the life they say is best? Yep.
Ultimately, I got to what livelihood do they say is the best living? It just all was so awkward, all of it.
Well, it's only awkward because it's a different structure. The meaning is not awkward. And I see, how lives the one who they say lives best, is the Bhikkhu Bodhi translation, another way of doing it. So those are the 4 questions. And Catherine, do you have a question, or would you like to do the answers?
Yeah, mine is what life they say is the best among lives.
Okay, yeah.
Can
The sense of it is, what is the best life to live, right? How does one live best?
when life is the sweetest. What truly is the sweetest? What life they say is best? I'm not sure.
So who would like to give us the answers? Fiacre, would you like to do that?
Oh, yes. Sorry, so you mean the Buddha's answers, not
Yes.
my answers.
Well, your answer, which is hopefully the Buddha's answer.
Of the Buddha's answer. Okay, so Sadhita vitang purisasa setang Dhammo suchino Sukhamavahati Sachang have sadutarang rasanang panya jivitang or jivitamahu seta. Okay, so the faith is the best. So I have it down as the best treasure for a purpose.
A person.
For a person, sorry, yes. Why do I have that's very strange. Purisasa, why did I say? Yes, sir. Anyway, sorry, yes. So yes, faith is the best treasure for a person.
Mm-hmm.
The Dhamma, well practiced, brings happiness.
Yes.
The truth has this truth has the sweetest flavor, and the one living by wisdom lives the best. They say the best life.
Okay. Yeah. Good. And did anyone else have any other versions that they'd like to share? I think that's good.
A life of wisdom, sorry, a life of wisdom is the best of lives.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
A life of wisdom, they say, is the best life. Or as Venerable Bodhi has it, let's see. One living by wisdom, they say, lives best. Okay. Sarah, did you have any others? I know you always have good variants.
I don't know about good, but I had here a person's faith is the best wealth. The well-practiced Dhamma brings happiness. Surely truth is the sweetest of tastes. They say a life of wisdom is the best life.
Good. Okay. Then I think we can go on to Dhammapada, a bunch of verses, 127 and 128. Any volunteers for this pair?
I'll read.
Okay, thanks.
Na antalike na samudamma je. Na pabaktanam vivaram pavisa. Na vijati so jagati padeso. Yata tito muchaya papakama.
Mm-hmm.
Na antalike na samuda maji. This one is not in the sky, not ocean. Not in the sky, nor in the middle of the ocean.
Yes.
No, na papatanam. This is mountain. No having vivaram, cave. Or something, is this a cave? I think it's cave that I found. Pavisa, having entered. No having entered a cave of the mountains.
Right. So pavisa is a absolutive based on pavisati. So not having entered vivarang, it's like a hole or perhaps a cave, a crack, something like that. And then what case is pabatanang?
Papatanang is dative genitive.
Plural, right? Yes.
Plural.
But I think in English we have to translate the genitive as a locative, because it doesn't really make sense in English to say not having entered a cave of the mountains. We would say more naturally nor having entered a cave in mountains.
In the mountain, okay. Na vijati so jagat. No, in any spot. Any spot. Jagati Padesu is world. Let me see.
Jagati,
world to be
world.
found.
Yeah.
No, in any spot of the world to be found.
Yeah. So
Yatha tito mucheya papakama. Staying where one would be released from bad deeds, evil deed.
right. So this third and fourth lines. So that place in the earth or on earth, Jagati, is not found, na vijati, and then where, yata, standing, one might be freed, mucheya, ablative, from evil kama. So this na vijati, this is the passive, vijati is the passive form of vindati, to know. So here, the sense of the na vijati is not found, right? So there is no place on earth found where remaining or staying one might be freed from bad karma. You can't hide. That's the sense of it. Good. Would you do the second one for us, Catherine?
Okay. Na antalike na samudamaje, na pabatanam vivarang pavisa, na vijati so jagati padeso, yatha titang napasa heya machu. So this one not in the sky, nor in the middle of the ocean, nor having entered a cave in the mountains, nor in any part of the world is a spot to be found.
Or not any place on the world can be found.
Staying where one not be subdued by death. Death will not conquer one.
Right. So this is na plus this optative pasaheya, and I think the verb is pasahati, to overcome.
Pasahati. Subdue, yeah.
Right. Good.
Optative of pasa. The pasaheya is optative, yes.
Optative, yes. Good. Any other? Let me read for you the Norman translations of these. Not in the sky, not in the middle of the sea, nor entering an opening in the mountains, is there that place on earth where standing one might be freed from evil action. And in the end, where standing death would not overcome one. Yeah. Anybody else would like to share their translation? And then we can go on. Who'd like to take the next pair? Sarah?
Okay. Sukha kamani bhutani yodandena vihing sati atano sukha mesano pecha sana labate sukham. So all living beings, bhutani is living beings, desire, that's the, I think sukha plus kama.
Yes.
So they have a wish or desire for happiness. And then I had to add in an if to make this work. But if one harms hingsati, another, with a stick, and that's literal, I guess, but if one harms another with a stick while seeking happiness for oneself, so the atano is self, and esano is searching or seeking. It's a past participle of asati. So while seeking happiness, sukhang, for oneself, after death, pecha, One does not find, na labate, that's, I think, the middle voice.
Yes.
One does not find happiness.
Right. So here, it might work better if we took the second line first. So one who, yo, vihingsati, harms, dandena, literally with a stick, but often will just mean by violence. And then Bhutani is like a general term for living beings, not just people. Or I think Norman has creatures, and then they're described adjectively as sukha kamani, those beings who desire happiness. So this one, the yo, sukhang asano, seeking happiness, atano, this is genitive dative, for oneself. Pecha, I think it's originally an absolutive. After death, he na labate, so this would be middle voice present, does not obtain or get happiness. And then Sarah, can you do the second one, the next one?
Sure. Sukha kamani bhutani, yodan dena na hingsati. Atano sukham esano, pecha so labati sukham. So I'm going to do mine in the literal way.
Okay.
So you're right. It would work better the other way around. But all living beings desire happiness. If one does not harm another with a stick, while seeking happiness for oneself, after death, one does find happiness.
Right. Because you see, this first line is the object. It's like the accusative plural of the verb hingsati. So one, and the yo is completed by the so, right? So the one who harms with violence, who? Sukha kamani bhutani, beings seeking happiness, desiring happiness. That one, the harmer, the yo, looking for happiness himself, after death, he, well then here, because it's the reverse, so he finds happiness, he gets happiness. So that's why I think it's definitely better to start with the second line first, at least in English. Diane?
I have a question. Actually, the first several times I looked at this, it didn't even occur to me. But now as I'm looking at it, why is vihimsati and himsati both mean injures, right? Why is the V, it's a prefix that means with? Or
I think it's more of
why does it change?
Why is there a hingsati and also vihingsati?
Yeah, what is the difference? What does the prefix do?
It's probably an intensifier, the V. I don't think it makes that much difference. It just seems to be two versions of the verb. I wouldn't say there's a huge amount of difference in there.
Or maybe meter, because himsati has the n himsati, vihimsati, so the count is the same?
It's just another form of the verb. And yes, probably this form was chosen because of the extra syllable.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Catherine?
No question.
Okay.
Good morning.
Yes.
Stephen, I translated like a conditional, you know. For example, the first is if desire and happiness. You use violence to harm living beings who desire happiness. You will not find happiness after death. Well, the other one is the opposite, no? But may I translate like a conditional?
Well, it's not what the Pali says literally. You could do it, but here we have the yo, which, in Pali means one who. It's the subject. This is the subject of the sentence. The object of the verb is sukha kamani bhutani. That's the accusative object. So if we translate literally, the subject of the sentence is the yo, one who, and then this person is vihingsati dandena, harming with violence. And who is this doer harming? He is harming sukha kamani bhutani, the object of the verb.
Yes, I translate yo like you, like Buddha talking to someone, no? If you use violence, desire happiness, and this violence is used to harm living beings who desire happiness, you will not find happiness after death. If it's bad, I correct it.
You can do that, but it's not what the Pali says, right? Because yo is a third person pronoun, not a second person pronoun.
Yes.
So I understand what you're getting at, but literally, just so we know what the Pali says, yo is whoever, one who, yeah? The third person.
Yes. Thanks.
And that's completed by so, he.
Yes, I translate like, a talk between persons, I don't know how, I imagine Buddha talking to someone.
Yeah.
So for me, Buddha don't said the third person, said you, if you, well, I correct all. Thank you.
Okay. Let me read for you another translation by Glenn Wallace, just so we hear one more translation of 131. Whoever, through violence, does harm to living beings desiring ease, hoping for such ease himself, will not, when he dies, realize ease. So here he's choosing to translate sukha as ease, not exactly as happiness. But basically it's the same. Okay, let's do the final one here. 148. Who'd like to do it? Fiakra, can you read and translate 148 for us?
Okay, sure. So, parijinamidang rupang roganilang pabangunang bijati puti sandeho maranantang jivitang.
Yes, pretty dark. And there's an alternate reading which I put. It doesn't really matter for us. I think our book had nidang. It also could read as nilang, but I think that both are the same. They mean the same things. So how did you translate this?
Okay, and so this decaying body. So then,
right, idang is this. Idang rupang. This is the subject of our sentence, and it's being described as parijina, worn out or decaying. Yes, go on.
Okay, so Rogan Ilang, I believe, is that the nest of diseases?
Yes, a nest of illness or a nest of diseases. It's a way to describe this body. And then it's described further as
brittle or prone to breaking up, or
pabangunang. So banga here has that sense of breaking apart. Yeah, fragile or brittle.
Fragile, yeah. Okay, great. And then, so bijati is repulsive, is it? And then,
Sorry, say it again.
Is
Bijati?
it is repulsive? Is it? Is it bijati? Oh no,
No.
wait. So sorry. No, sorry. I'm getting it wrong. So bijati is it breaks up. Sorry, is that right?
Yes.
It's the
It's
same.
a
Yeah.
passive form of the verb bindati.
Bindati. Yes.
Bindati is to break, but the
Bindati.
passive form, it breaks up.
Yes. And then and then
And the subject of the breaking up is what? Puti
so
sandeho.
puti sandeho, which I've put down as the is it the repulsive body? Is that right?
Yeah, or putrid. I think puti is kind of similar to putrid.
Putrid. Okay, yeah, very good. And then and then maranantang jivitang. So that's life ending in death. Is that right?
Well, we have maranantang, marana antang, right? So that is a compound of death and end.
Yeah.
And what kind of compound is this? Maranan antang.
So that would be so it's describing jivitang, so bahubihis. So
Yes, it's an adjectival compound describing jivitang. It is a bahubihi. So it has that sense of having. So life has death at its end.
life having death as its end. Yes.
Or literally, if we use that sort of cheating way I have described to understand the bahubihi by ending the ed suffix, life is death ended, right? It means life will certainly end in death. Life has death at its end. So read out your translation one more time for us, please.
So we go with the putrid body breaks up, life ends in death. Yes.
Okay. Let me read for you the Norman translation. This body is worn out, a nest of diseases, and very frail. This heap of corruption will break to pieces, for life has death as its end. It's not the most happy verse. We don't want to end on this note. Did anyone else have a different translation they'd like to share before we all get too depressed?
I had one because I had to squeeze in as many horrible words as I could.
Okay.
So this worn out body is a frail nest of disease, an accumulation of putrid matter that breaks up. Indeed, this life ends in death.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, that's that. Maybe we'll look a bit more at the next reading. So here we have a very, very important reading, one of the crucial readings for Buddhism, which is called the Anata Sutta, the sutta on the characteristic of non-self. And it's found in a couple places. One is in the Vinaya Pitaka, in a section called the Mahavagga. And it's also found in Samyutta Nikaya, on the Samyutta on number 22. Is that the aggregates? I hope so. I hope I have that right. So, let's see. Let's take a look at this. It has lots of very interesting grammatical points for us, I think. Of course, we're just jumping in sort of the middle. And I've put Horner's translation here. I've stuck it in for us. So, Atako Bhagava Pancha Vagye Bhikkhu Amantesi. So then, the Blessed One addressed Amantesi, and then we have Pancha Vagye. So this is an adjective, which would have the ya suffix, I believe. But here it's the accusative plural, and it's made up of 5, and the word for group, Vagga. So it's describing the bhikkhus as an adjective. So then the Blessed One addressed the group of 5 bhikkhus. or the group of 5 monks. Rupang bhikkhave anata. So rupang is material form. It is a neuter noun, nominative. She has it as body. And it's being this, he is the Buddha describing it, or saying it is, equating it, it's an equational sentence, as anata, non-self. And now we have the introduction of a new kind of verb form, which is for this chapter, which is called the conditional, which is very similar in form, not in form, but in meaning to the optative. But it's generally, I think, used for statements which are not true, counterfactual. Yeah, and how is it made? So this is the verb bhavati, to be. And I think Venerable Bodhi describes it as a verb with the head of an aorist and the tail of a future. So we see this a augment here, and then we have this double s suffix, which is the future. So we start with a past and we end with a future, but the meaning of it is could be, or might be, were it to be. So, idang rupang, were this form, atta, self, right? So, rupang, idang is the subject, and the verb is abhav. Were this rupang to be atta, self, nai idang rupang abhadaya sangvateya. So here we have a negated verb, basically, sangvatati, which is to lead to. We find it here also in a similar form, meaning-wise, which is the optative. It would, or it could, but here it's negated, na. So it would not lead, and then sangvatati takes the dative case as its object. Abhada. So abhadaya. It would not lead to affliction, or illness, or sickness, right? So again, if this body were to be self, atta, it would not lead to affliction. And then we have the verb labeta, which is a passive voice, passive or middle voice. It's a passive form of the verb put into the middle voice optative. So it's confusing, but we know we have the verb labati, to get. And so this is explained on the bottom of 155. We have labati, which is the passive form. And then we have this suffix eta, which is a middle voice, and it's an optative ending. The middle voice in Pali is not used very much less so than Sanskrit, and it tends to be used, I think, mostly in poetry, in verse, but we also see it like we do here in prose. And I'm translating it here as it would not be gained, or it would not be gotten. So literally now, and so here's our cha, it would not be gained regarding form, which is a locative, and this is a point that is also presented in this chapter. They call it the locative of reference, another use of the locative case, and generally it is translated as in regard to. So the literal sense is it could be gained in regard to form, but it has to be translated a bit more freely, and she has, one might get the chance of saying in regard to body, or one might have it in regard to body, or it might be the case for the body that one could have this. And what is this? Evang me rupang hotu. So hotu is an imperative, but it's used in sort of like a aspirational way. May my body be thus, right? Evam may my body not be like that. So here we have what's called the prohibitive, which uses this word ma, not, and it takes the aorist. So again, we have this verb hoti in various, or in bhavati in various forms. We've had it in the conditional, and we have the short form of bhavati, hoti, in the imperative, and now we find it in the aorist. But what one should know, what you should know, is that in the prohibitive form, the aorist is used, but it is not used in a past sense. It is just used as, may it not be like that. So she translates, let body become the, let body become thus for me, let body not become thus for me. So become thus, she's using freely from labeta. Now again, literally, it says, it can be gained in regarding form, but here it says, but literally, that's what it literally means, but the sense of it is, one could have a form, and then these two propositions, let my form be thus, and let my form not be thus. In other words, if the body was really atta, we would have much more volition over it than we really do, right? So if my body was atta, I could say, let my hair not be gray, let me not get old, but in fact, I'm not in charge. And it's a whole big sort of philosophical and deep discussion, which we can't get into. We're trying to study the grammar. So, yasma chako, since, O monks, and rupang anata, since form is non-self, tasma, therefore, form leads to abhadaya, affliction, and one cannot have of form. Notice here, now when we have the positive statement, the true statement, it's expressed in the present indicative. It is no longer expressed in the optative or conditional. So again, therefore, form leads to affliction, and one cannot have a form, or in other words, one can't say a form. Evang me rupang hotu, may my body be thus for me, or may my body not be thus for me, or not become thus for me. So I know that's a little complicated grammatically, and I probably didn't do the finest job explaining it, but please ask questions, or if you'd like me to try again, I can do that. Sarah?
This is not really a question, but maybe I need your affirmation that this would be all right, in the sense that, you're not saying this per se, it's the thought bubble, right? So in her translation, when she says, get the chance of saying, what she's saying is because of the quotes. But
Well,
could
that's the la beta.
okay, I was thinking of that as I didn't really get saying from that. So I don't really know how does that come into la beta?
Literally, la beta means it could be gotten in regard to form.
Yeah, that I understand, but I didn't understand the saying part, because you could be thinking it as well.
And I think the sense of it is that it's sort of like a command. Like you're trying to get this from your form.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're saying to form, be like this, don't be like
Right.
that. But literally in Pali it says you can't get it to do this.
Okay, because I had put it in regards, and regarding form, it does not come about. And then I had the thought, let my form be thus, let my form not be thus. Do you think that could work also?
Maybe. Let's do the next one together. So why don't
Okay.
you read from Vedana? It's very much the same, but it's good practice.
Do you want me to do that?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Put my hand down. Vedana bhikkhave. Anata. Vedana trahidang bhikkhave. Ata abhavisa. Naidang Vedana Abadaya Sanvateya Labeta cha Vedanaya Evam me Vedana Hotu Evam me Vedana Ma Ahositi. Just do that one.
Yeah.
So feeling, O monks, Vedana is not self. Vedana is feminine. Now indeed, if feeling were self. So we've got the abhavisa and conditional.
Would be self.
Yeah.
And so
then,
the he, sorry to interrupt. Let me just say
go
that
ahead.
the he here for the he dung has that sense as because or for, and the cha has that kind of almost an if sense to me, it seems like.
Okay.
Go ahead, please.
I think I put now if feeling were self, O monks, then feeling would not lead to disease. And regarding feeling, so we've got that in locative. So in regarding feeling, there could not come about. So I just did la beta as could come about. And then in brackets, I put the thought. Let my feelings be thus, let my feelings not be thus.
Yeah, can you do it one more time from Naidang? It kind of went too fast for me.
Oh, sorry. So let's see, then feeling, then this feeling, and I actually have underlined idang because Vedana is feminine. So anyway, that's a separate question. But anyway, then this feeling would not lead, na samvateya.
Right, it would not lead.
To disease, so that's the dative.
Right.
And la beta, I put, and regarding feeling, that's Vedanaya, which is locative. There could come about, la beta.
Right. One could have it, or it could come about.
It could come about, and then I have in brackets the thought.
Yeah.
Let my feelings be thus. Let my feelings not be thus.
Right. So here in the first one, we have a imperative. Thus, for me, feelings be. Right? That's literally. And the second one is, thus, for me, feelings not be. Not be. Ma ahosi. Again, this is the usage of the aorist, but not in the past tense. It's used in this prohibitive, negating sense.
And I was thinking of the imperative more in the polite sense. Like, please.
Yeah, I think sometimes this is called the benedictive.
Okay.
Might you please do this kind of thing. And then go on. Yasma chako.
Yasmachako bhikkhave vedana anata. Tasma vedana abadaya samvatati. Nucha labati vedanaya. Eva me vedana hotu, eva me vedana ma ohositi. So, but indeed, because, O monks, feeling is not self.
Right. Yeah. Vedana anatta, right?
Vedana anatta.
And then the yasma is completed by the tasma.
Yes, so yasma tasma, therefore, tasmas, therefore, feeling does lead to disease.
Yes,
Indeed.
and now we have it good. Now we have it expressed in present indicative. Feeling leads to abada, illness. Or how did you translate it?
I said, therefore, feeling leads to disease.
Disease, okay, or affliction. I think
Or
it's even
affliction.
bigger than disease in a kind of biological sense. I think
It could be any harm or injury.
any kind of
probably.
misery. Yeah.
Yeah, any misery.
Because feelings are mental aggregate, right?
Mm-hmm. So we're crossing over when the translation was body form, maybe is also including the mind. Do you think in this case?
Well, we're doing the 5 aggregates. I would say rupang would be the material form part of the 5.
Okay, so and regarding feeling, so that's in locative. It let's see, where am I?
We're up to nacha labati vedanaya.
So in regarding feeling, it cannot come about.
Yes.
Or it does not come about is probably more accurate because it's labati.
Literally means it cannot be had of feelings.
Okay.
Right? Because it's a passive form of to get. So it could not be, and it could not be had of feelings. In the literal sense of you can't get this. You can't have this. But you used have, which is fine. But just so we understand this passive labati to get.
Right.
It cannot be gotten.
It cannot be gotten. That, or I had put the thought, but it's just that. Let my feelings be thus, let my feelings not be thus.
Right. We don't have that control.
And
When
then,
a feeling arises, it arises. It's there now. You can't say, don't arise, go away.
no, in the first paragraph when we're talking about rupang and it's idang, rupang,
Yes.
why do we carry over the neuter pronoun there, idam?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it
I'm
be
not
ayam?
sure. Yeah, I've seen that. This is a kind of, I think, a characteristic of Pali where if things happen in a chain, they seem to stay the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's the same point that's being made. I mean, he's changing the aggregates, but
Yeah.
we're emphasizing this idang, this situation.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Should we do one more? Diane, can you use Sanya for us? Just read. You don't have to read the Pali necessarily, but read us your translation and I'll try to highlight the Pali.
Perception, O monks, is not self. Perception, this can go to the conditional. If perception were self.
Right. So we have this he because for the if this perception were, O monks, self. Go ahead.
This perception, samvatateya, would not lead to affliction.
Right. If this perception were to be self, it would not lead to affliction.
And one could get la beta of perception, in regarding perception, to may perception for me be thus, and may perception for me not be thus.
Yes.
And yasma tasma, since, O monks, perception is not self, therefore
Tasma.
perception leads to affliction. And one gets in regards to perception,
Well, there's the
but
na.
one does not get in
Right.
regard to perception.
Yes.
May perception for me be thus, and may perception for me not be thus.
Right. So these final two statements cannot be had, cannot be obtained. We can't do with that.
Right.
Na labati, in regard to sanya.
One cannot get in regard to perception.
Yes. Fiakar, would you like to try sankara? This is our plural one.
Yeah. Okay.
So we have to change the verbs a little bit here to make a plural.
Yeah, that's okay. Shouldn't be too hard though. Okay, so Sankara Bhikkhave Anata. Sankara cha idang Bhikkhave ata abavisamu. Or sorry,
Abhavi sangsu.
Abavisangsu. Yes, Abavisangsu naidang Sankara Abadaya Sangvateung.
Let's stop there.
Yep, not a problem. Okay, so we'll go with the Sankaras. So the volitional formations, O monks, are not self. If the volitional form, so if this volitional formations were self, and then we've got the conditional abaving sangsu.
So one more time, translate just this phrase up to abhavi sangsu.
If the volitional formations were self, and then I'm just putting in as it, so the this doesn't really agree with anything there, like Sarah says.
Well, it literally means if for these sankaras were to be self, right?
Exactly,
O monks. For if these sankaras were to be self, O monks,
yeah.
And then we go on.
Naidang sankara apadaya sangvateyong. So they would not. So these sankaras would not lead to affliction.
Exactly. And so here we have the optative in the plural. They would not lead to affliction. And, go on.
Labeta cha sankaresu. It would be possible with reference to the sankaras.
Yeah. Or literally, it could be obtained in regard to sankaras.
Evang me sankara hontu, evang me sankara ma ahen ahesonti. So let my sankara be thus, let my sankara not be thus.
Yes. So here we have an imperative hontu and a aorist ahesung in the prohibitive sense. Good. Please go on.
Yasma chako bhikkhave sankara anata tasma sankara apadaya sangvatanti.
Okay, let's stop there.
So since amongst the sankaras are not self,
yes,
then
tasma, therefore,
yeah, the sankaras lead to affliction.
Yes, and
Na cha labati sankara resu. It is not obtainable with regards to the sankaras.
Good.
Evang me sankara hontu. evang me sankara ma ahesumti. So
Yes. Good.
I just tricked up on it. Yeah, ahesumti. Yes. So may my sankaras be thus, may my sankaras not be thus.
Yes, good. I liked how it cannot be obtained in regard to sankaras. You can't get this. You can't have it this way.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. Right. Good. And then we have Vinyanang. Chora, would you like to do this one for us? The final one, the fifth aggregate, Vinyanang? Cora?
I don't do it.
You don't want to? Okay, that's fine. Then we'll have, we can have Catherine do it.
Okay. Vinyanang bhikkhave anatta. Vinyanancha hidang bhikkhave atta. Abhavisa nahidang vinanyam abadaya. Samvadeya labeta cha vinyane. Consciousness, O monks, is not self. And if consciousness were self, O monks, then consciousness would not be led to disease.
Okay.
And one could have it of consciousness.
Yes.
Okay. Evam me vinyanam ma ahositi. Yasma chako bhikkhave vinyanang anatta. Tasma vinyanam abadaya samvatati. Na cha labati vinyane evam me vinyanang hotu evam me vinyanam ma ahositi. Let my consciousness be tasked, let my consciousness not be tasked.
Yes.
And since monks, consciousness is not self, therefore consciousness is led to disease. And one cannot have it of consciousness. Let my consciousness be tasked, let my consciousness not be tasked.
Good. Thank you. Very nice. Okay. Well, that covers all our readings. Were there any final questions about this one? I hope the grammar was clear by the end. Yeah. Okay. Great. Well, thank you all for your work, and I hope we can meet next Tuesday for at least the first part of the lesson 11 further readings. I'll send out my file. I know there's a bunch there. Hopefully it won't be too hard. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
And I'll see you next week, hopefully. Have a good one.
Great.
Thank you so much,
next week.
Stephen.
Thank you, Stephen.
Take care, everyone.
Thank
Bye
you.
now.
Bye.